All right.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep. So as Ozzy said, I'm Bill Duncan. I'm currently at the University of Florida College of Dentistry. I'm a clinical associate professor there. I did a master's degree in computer science at Clemson University, and then I did a PhD in philosophy at the University of Buffalo, focused on ontologies. I've done a lot of work with the oral health and disease ontology, and also contributed to the environment ontology, the cell line ontology, the cyto ontology. Anyway, lots of ontologies. So because this is like part demo, I'm just going to leave my slides through like this, because I'll be bouncing back and forth between this and the terminal and a code window. So in case you weren't aware, ODK stands for the Ontology Development Kit. And I should, while I'm thinking about it, I should share these. Let me see here. How do I share? There. Okay. I just put the link in the chat, so anyone can.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right now
Yeah.
we are seeing your teams. Oh, okay. Good.
Yeah. So. Yep. So there, I just shared a link to the slides. So if you want to go to these links. So the Ontology Development Kit, they do have a project page. This currently is out of date. I'll just like add that these docs, but like they still help out a lot. If you want to see a number of just examples of what ODK files looks like, here's a nice directory of a bunch of them. And I actually, I'm gonna admit that the documentation isn't necessarily great, but it is helpful. And it's just they've a bunch of folks in the OBO Foundry have done a good job of putting together this OBO book, which is a lot of really great like resources, and you can walk through a lot of this and get a lot of the same content. I'm going to show you here. And then Robot is an automated tool built on top of the Java API. Here's their homepage. It's in the slides, for running a lot of really nice commands that you otherwise would have to do in Protege, or try to write some custom Python or Java code to do. In order to run ODK, you have to have Docker installed, and then after you run Docker, you have to update it with their ODK full image. If you don't want to use the ODK full image, there's also an ODK Lite image, but I'm not sure exactly what the differences are between the full and the Lite. When you look at a number of instructions, it'll tell you to download this seed via Docker file. I've ran into problems that if you do this, say for example, from the ODK repository, it'll give you the 1.3.2, which won't work with this Docker image. So that's just what I say. Currently, if you download it, make sure you specify the 1.3.1. And then the robot install instructions, you have to go through, their instructions on their web page. You download this robot.jar file. I actually personally, I install it from GitHub, and then on the GitHub README, you'll find how to build the robot.jar using Maven. And I like that because then I can keep up with any updates, and I can rebuild it pretty quickly. So that's just a use case. You know, let's say we're gonna build a small you know, ontology for representing pain and pain concepts in general. And so what I've done is I've started this YAML file, right? So you have to start out with a YAML file. And then at the top, you have to give it, you know, some metadata. You know, this is an ID that will be used to name the ontology file. It will also, when you push this to a GitHub repository, this will also be your the repository name. This is just my personal GitHub site here, and then of course this is the name of the repo. And then you can export. You know, there's a number of different OWL formats that you can export from OWL XML, from, you know, the RDFS XML. You can export it in JSON or Turtle or the functional syntax. There are a lot of options here. For this, you know, we'll just do the OWL release. And there are they call them release artifacts, but after you build your ontology, and then, you know, we release it out for some public consumption. Two of the typical artifacts are what they call a base ontology, which roughly is your the ontology classes that you've developed. So, you know, within the context of the full ontology, meaning that it excludes any of the classes that you import. And then the full release is all of the products, you know, all of the imports and all your custom classes all in one. And there's more here, and down here, if you want to read about many more of the artifacts, there's a nice link there. So in building this simple ontology, I went, you know, I went to like Ontobee or the OLS, and I did a lot of digging around for a number of pain concepts. And there are a number of ontologies that I found useful. This is the mental functioning ontology. This is the emotion ontology. And then actually, if you look in the gene ontology or Go, there's a number of important classes about, you know, nervous system and nervous system processes. And then we need an upper level ontology. And for that, I'm going to use some really high level BFO classes. And then I don't want to, and then when you specify this in your YAML file, I don't want to grab all of these ontologies, especially something like the Go, which is really big. And so it's nice, you know, if it's a really big ontology, that ODK like lets you specify this flag that says is, you know, that says it's large. And then what it does is it stores a local copy of the ontology in your directory, and so that way, you know, you're not working with everything over the internet. And then as part of this, you know, I'm going to want to filter for just the classes that I want. One thing, and I'll show you the full, you know, so here's my full group here. It goes in this block called import group. And I guess, you know, if you all want, I can put this up on my Google Drive and share it like also, but you'll see similar stuff in those in those config examples. But one thing that's I don't know, kind of nuanced about using filter is here, for example, is the emotion ontology. And when you look at the URIs, for example, you'll see that this is in the OGMS namespace, and this is in, and this one's in the just the mental functioning namespace, not the MFOEM, which is the emotion ontology. And so in order to grab these properly when you do the filter, I found that what you have to do is you have to list each of those IDs as, or those namespaces as part of your IDs. Here's just some, and then you specify some other arguments. This is for the robot tool, which we'll get to, which runs on Java. And here's some stuff about, that's not really really germane here about, you know, how robot runs. It can run these reports and spit out which errors that it finds, which is very nice, actually. All right.
So where do you put your ID files when you do the filter?
We will get there.
Okay.
That's what I was about to get to next.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All right. So once you have all that built and you've downloaded, you know, the correct shell file here, you run this. You run this file using these flags. And this little c, I know it like stands for clean, which means if there's already stuff in your directory, then, you know, clean it out. And, you know, that this capital -C means create, which, yeah, so, and finding out what, anyway, so these flags, so stuff like this, actually, I don't find to be well documented, so you kind of have to learn by example. And I'll just show you, here's, you know, it goes and it, you know, does this run, and I'll just show you what it looks like. You know, oh. Oh, of course, that's what happened. Why would it not? Oh, I was going to. Okay. And I'm not gonna, anyway, I've already ran this once, so I just wanted to show you like what it looks like. It takes a little while to run. But like what it does is it creates this target directory, which you'll see here. And then if I go into the target directory, you know, it created this, you know, this ODK pain demo directory. And what's kind of nice is it builds a number of, just automatically builds a number of files, which you go and you edit like later. You know, for example, if you want to look at the code of conduct, right, you know, as, you know, just some basic language there. Of course, it builds a README, which you then go edit. And it also does, you know, here are the, if you recall from the ODK file, right, you know, the base and full, these were automatically created. And this is just this is what's called your primary release. And this defaults to be the same as a full release unless you specify things differently. By convention, ODK puts the ontology that you work with in this subdirectory called source ontology. And the file that you edit your ontology in ends in a -edit. So if we look at these, if we look at this, you'll see this brings up, the ontology. Typically you go back and in this edit file, you'll add a license and a description and your contributors and other metadata. You can see here. What's that?
I have a question. So when you do the ODK, will this license information or description can be also generated, or you have to edit it here?
I think there might be a flag that you can specify this in the YAML file. I did not find one. Yeah, so I've always used it where I added it here. ODK changes quite a lot. So maybe now they've added at least something for the license. I can see how they wouldn't want to add something for the description because the descriptions can get quite verbose. But,
yeah.
But like maybe they have. I mean,
Okay.
All right. So if you go and you look at the classes, you'll be disappointed, right? I don't have any yet. And the reason for that is because I specified this as a filter in my setup here. The module type is filter. So what you have to do, I can close this here. So if I go here, all of the imports are in this imports directory. And you'll see here for every import OWL file, there's an associated terms file. I actually don't really know what this terms combined is for. And the documentation doesn't really make it clear. Or at least it didn't make it clear for me. So truth in advertising. If you look at this BFO terms file, you'll see it's empty. So what you do is I'll add. Let me go back to my presentation. Right. So that's just. So what I'll do is I'll add a couple of real high-level BFO classes, basically material, entity, and process. And I already have these. I already pre-created this, so I'll just copy it in. And then after you modify your terms file, and you can see here, if I run my git status, you'll see that the terms have changed. And if I do a git diff, right, you can see there's my two. You have to refresh your import. And then it goes to this process. And now if I open, I'll just reopen it here. You'll see I have these these high level classes are here now.
And when you run this ODK, you are just using your command line.
Yes.
So if I'm using the Windows, then I just use the CMD.
Yes.
And it has to be. Oh, maybe if I'm using Docker, then I go to the Docker environment.
So you use the Docker. So this. So in the Windows environment, this run.sh will be a run.bat. And if you actually look inside the run.bat, you'll see here that actually what it's doing is it's using the libraries inside of that Docker image to run your commands. You used to be able to clone the ODK repository and then run all the commands natively. Things have gotten out of sync here of late, and I have not been able to do that. So I've and maybe they fixed it now, but I right now just use a Docker image because I know that works.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for brevity, I already went and created all these terms like files.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll just like copy them in. And then you'll see here that just, you know, the Go and the mental functioning and all that I already pre-created that. So for example, if you just look at, you know, MF, oh, sorry. You know, you'll see I added like the mental processor. All right, so I'm going to go and I'm going to, you can refresh. No, I'll just like open again, and then you'll see here. Purge is a little slow. See here that all the, oh, sorry. Sorry. Oh, no. Sorry.
No, I didn't see any problems where.
What's that?
Yeah, yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. Oh no. I just copied the wrong like files. Don't like worry about that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Sorry, this is part of the problem of doing like a live demo is, you know. You know, you get nervous, things don't go exactly as you thought, right? But here you'll see, right? I've imported, right?
Mm-hmm.
You know, here's this feeling of pain, and then there's all these biological processes. One issue with filter is that if you notice, right, these are processes, but they didn't get placed under my process. So I have found that when you run filter like this, you have to go back and clean things up.
Oh, you mean go back in where to clean things up?
I'm in the edit file. So in your actual, you know, edit file,
okay.
you know, you'll have to do things like, you know, that, right? Just like to pull things, just like to make it. Yeah. And that,
okay.
and yeah. And there's more complicated ways to get around that, time permitting, I'll show you. All right. So if I do my get status right now, you can see, you know, there's all these imports, and there's a naming convention that ODK automatically does with this underscore import, which is nice. And then if you look, right, you can see all these files have been modified. All right, so let's just do, so technically at this point, what you would do is you would push all these to your remote repo. I'm not going to do that because I haven't set what up, but here I'll commit all these changes. And then what's nice is that ODK also allows you to manage your release process. And those are the files I pointed to at the very beginning. These are your release artifacts here. And to create these release files, there's two commands. This first one will go and re-download all of your imports. we don't want to do that. So we're going to do this fast option. And so and then if I run this, and if I look at the files that have been modified, oh, I didn't do anything. Well, yeah. So this works. So the problem is that I think it doesn't like, because I'm not on a repo. Because I haven't committed this to actual remote, like a repo. I think it doesn't like that. I thought that's how you get revert. Maybe I'm probably misunderstanding the revert command. Anyone know how to roll back? I think.
No.
I'm not. I'm just gonna get it reset. I think this will do it. There we go. Now let's see if I do the. And maybe it will work this time.
Yeah, it seems working.
And now, right, if you, you'll see here that these are now your new release artifacts that you would then push up to the GitHub repository.
So
All right.
you said the base and the full, they are the same, or so what is the final user's file? It will be the OWL file, right?
Okay, so all right. So base is your ontologies, that your classes and relations that you put into your edit file, right? Like me doing, you know, this is tech. By moving these under process, I'm adding a subclass like Axiom. So that's part of your edit file. That's edit that you made that's local to this ontology. Plus, you know, let's say I delete this root node thing here. All right. So oh, I should put middle process like I'm under there too. So these are changes that are just applied to your ontology. And what you don't want, right, is say if you look at, I'll go back to the emotion ontology here. So in the emotion ontology, there are a number of classes, right, that are specifically BFO and OB and classes like that, right? So what you don't necessarily want is when you release your ontology, it helps for downstream consumers if they can just import your classes and not your classes and all the imports. So that's what the base ontology is. Just your modifications, essentially. Full is everything. It's your modifications plus all your imports all merged into one.
Okay.
This ontology, which is the default.
You have the import files, right? Import file as an import.
This defaults to being the full ontology.
Oh, the full. Okay.
This defaults to being the full. There is a flag that you can specify. And if you say, I think it's called primary release. I'll have to look. So there is, you know, say I wanted my base for whatever reason to be this file here. You can specify that, right?
Okay.
Yeah, that's what that allows. So
I see.
Most of the times I don't put this in because I'm mainly interested when people go and download my ontology from the internet. I want to give them the full version.
Okay.
That make sense?
Yep.
Yep. All right. So I know we're short on time. So the next thing, right? So in order to make all this work, you have to use robot. And what robot stands for is this recursive, right? It's this recursive acronym that robot is an OBO tool.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, whatever, it's cute, but there are other acronyms like that. I think Sparkle might be one of those. Anyway, so some handy things that I have found over the years that I do a lot with robot. One is I automatically add different annotations, such as updating the ontology IRI or the version IRI, adding comments and labels and things like that. If you look, and this is going to be messy, if you look in the make file, I'm sorry. You'll see here, lots of uses of annotate, actually. And anyway, it's all stuffed into like a variable here, but this like variable here. But it's used a lot. So in order to update your ontology IRIs and things like that. This make file that robot creates from you're not supposed to edit. The reason being that if you update your ODK file and then refresh your repository, this all gets rewritten, so your changes won't show up. If you want to do custom make file commands, if you're into that sort of pain, or I've actually had to do this at times, they do supply a custom make file that you can use and then you can call. Right now there's nothing like in this one because I just created it. All right. Yeah. Another handy, I guess, utility of robot I've used a lot is like to convert. So by default, OWL here means the RDF XML. And then you can specify if you want an OBO format. I've actually, in practice, I've done a lot of converting back and forth between the OWL and the functional syntax.
So they can convert from OWL to OBO. Can they convert OBO to OWL?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay.
Yep, and that's been really handy at times in the past. I've also converted back and forth between
Turtle.
Yeah, just because Turtle's nice and easy.
Turtle is nice, and also they can do JSON.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. I mean the JSON is okay. There's a few quirks like in it, but yep. The other thing I've done a lot is is just merge all the imports into a single file. All right. So if you look through the make file, you'll see some, like a call through merge. If you dig into the details, it takes all of these and merges it into one file. You do a lot of reasoning. The default is actually ELK.
Okay.
But for various purposes, sometimes you really want to use Hermit. So I'll specify that if I want, to do things with reasoning over data properties, domains and ranges, and some other things that ELK doesn't do. And what's really nice is that you actually, if you want to do a full release, then you can chain all these commands together. So for example, this will take your ontology and it will merge everything in your edit and into one file. Then it will pass that to the reasoner, which will elk, and then, it'll add some nice annotations to the ontology. And then finally, in this example, you're converting the results to OBO. Into the OBO format, but you like I said, you can specify anything you want there. I actually used to, before ODK got really developed well, I would put a lot of commands like this into a shell script, and then I would just run commands like this as part of my release process. But now with ODK, it automates a lot of this stuff for you, which is really nice.
Oh, so this is a core code that we run in the ODK. It's not in the robot. So in the ODK, you call robot, and then you do things like this.
Yeah, so ODK does things like this.
Okay, yeah.
The make file is a bit difficult to read because it sets all these variables. So for example, this whole here is this variable that gets substituted in when you do the make command. So when you see this, right, you have to know, right, that whole command is getting called just in that one variable there. And it makes the auto-generated make file a bit difficult to follow. If I look here, you'll see here, right? So here's your row. So here's, right, command using the reason. Probably, let's see if merge is, I forget if merge is stuffed into a variable or not. Nope, it's not. So here's an example, right, that this, right, is this does a merge, and then it validates you're actually in the DL profile. All right.
Good.
And so, so hacking this make file is hard. If you want, I can show you some custom stuff I've done. But for now I'll quit.
One thing I want to ask is, you said when we do the import, do the filter, and then we have to manually put down the subclasses and classes relationship that is already, we don't want to change in the original ontology. And you said we can do something about it?
Yeah, so that's a more complicated, no, sorry, wrong ontology. Yep, I'll show you an example of that. This is the actual paint ontology that I'm working on. Got my A. All right. So you'll see here, this I have to call, there's a flag to specify to the make command exactly which file that you use. And here, you'll see here, for example, when I do my import of cob, that I do a lot of kind of custom things to remove deprecated classes, and custom create my IRA base. And what I found a lot that I have to do, and I don't think you can do this in Robot, but here I extract a branch of the OWL file. And what is nice is that you can compress your OWL files, and which stays based on your GitHub repo. you know, which is nice for things like Go and Ubron. But here you can see there's a mechanism where I can specify this is bodily process, and then that's my first term. And then I grab a couple of terms beneath that. This is feeling a pain, and then yeah, I forget. This might be behavioral response to pain. So I'm grabbing, you know, conceptually speaking, I'm like grabbing these branches from the actual full download of the emotion ontology. And then because I'm fussy and I don't like deprecated classes, I remove them, and then I do some other stuff with annotations, and then of course I output my file again. But yeah, but this is
so you are customized making changes in the make file. That is what
yes,
you're. Oh,
yes,
okay.
yes, and to do that, what you have to do, so if you look at just the make file itself, you'll see here, you know, I think I set all these to, sorry, I haven't looked at this in a while. I actually got so aggravated. You can specify this as custom, but I had issues with this, so I ended up commenting all this out and then going and doing my own special thing.
Okay.
So I meant to highlight once you do this release process, you'll get this message. Oh, sorry, here. Take that very seriously. I've had to redo this, you know, modify the YAML file, rerun this again. You know, you know, even for this little demo here, because I was rusty on all the ODK syntax, I probably did this 20 times. So yeah, so when it says delete and try again, really delete and try again until like you get it right. And then as you can see in this example, right, I eventually got so frustrated that I decided just to comment out all of this and just do my and just do my own custom thing. You know,
yeah.
So and here you'll see I'm wanting to release just a non-classified version, which is nice. Sometimes I forget exactly what simple does. I'd have to go and look it up again. But then of course there's the base and the full.
Well, very good. Yeah. So yeah, what? Yeah. So the OntoFox, Animal tool, it's a web interface, and you could define the subclasses relationship so that you can download a full import file. Yeah.
So I used to. Yeah. So I like OntoFox. Sorry, I'm trying to find. How do I stop sharing?
Yeah, we will teach OntoFox in next maybe next 1 or 2 classes. I think next we will talk about Protege, and then another class will be talking about OntoB and OntoFox tools. Yeah, Animal tools. Yeah.
Yeah. So the OntoFox is nice, and I've used it a lot in the past. What you can't do yet, as far as I know, is you can't automate it in the same way that you can automate ODK. So if you want to refresh your imports, you know, what's nice about OntoFox is that you can save your file And then, you can re-import it and you can modify it, and then you can rerun. I'm trying to remember the name of the file and get new imports. And that's nice, but it's not as nice as just being able to run a make command, right, and then just have it build everything. So there's advantages and disadvantages, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Do you have any questions? We're a little bit over time, but yeah.
No, I just wanted to say thanks, Bill. This is really helpful. I also saw that you're involved in the Onto GPT project. Is that right?
Only very, very, very tangentially, because I remain in affiliation with Chris Mongol's group out of